Bros. Character B. Well, that video is outdated because guess what? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 new characters introduced in Smash Bros. Joker, Hero, Banjo-Kazooie, Terry, Bywith, Min Min, and Steve, and Alex. And what type would all of these characters be? Well, we will find out soon. First character is Joker. Joker would be Dark type, obviously. He's a thief. He stole the Smash Bros. Invitation. He works in the shadows. Again, Noel could work because he's just a normal high school student, but the other type would obviously be Psychic type because of the Arsene, which is essentially a psychic power. The next character would be Hero. Fairy type and Psychic type. Well, Fairy type could be easy because Hero is essentially the hero of the story. He also is but yeah, Psychic type would probably work the most because of his, you know, kind of because he's essentially, yeah, Fairy because he's kind of the hero. But I think the most likely type for Hero would be Steel Psychic because he has magical powers. Fairy or Psychic could work. Fairy because he has very magical powers. It would work essentially like that. I have magical powers. Fairy type. I can say, yeah, he would probably be Fairy Steel type because he has armor. He has the heart of steel. He has basically powers, and he doesn't. It's not really psychic powers. It's probably most likely fairy like powers, as well. Next is Banjo Kazooie. Easy. Obviously, part fine because Banjo Kazooie is a bird. Even though Banjo Kazooie is a bird. Obviously, Banjo Kazooie would be flying type, part flying type, but would probably be also ground or fighting because Banjo can fight on his own, and wouldn't is not just a plain old bear. He can fight pretty easily on his own, but yeah, he would the most likely type would probably be ground because he's more underground, or he'll be fighting type because he's essentially a bear. He beats up people like he's a bear. He isn't an aggressive bear, but yeah, he would be. But the most likely type would likely Game Freak or like go with would be a normal typing, essentially, because he is just a bear. But a pretty non-normal bear at most because he basically is able to fight on his own. Terry fighting fire. Easy as that. If you've seen Terry's Final Smash moves, you can obviously tell he's a fighting type and he's a fire type. Bywith is, of course, part steel type, like most of the Fire Emblem cast, most of the Fire Emblem characters. But the other type would probably be like fairy type or something, because, or likely just be the same type as Moth, Roy and Ike, that's fire fighting. But he does have the three legendary blades, which all do something completely different, which would make him and her probably fire type or fairy type or something like that. Min Min, obviously fighting type. We don't have to go over what type Min Min would be. He basically beats up people with her hands. He's from arms. A game with a literal logo is a fist. Obviously, would be fighting type. Bioware is obviously the hardest type to want to do. But next is Steve. What does Steve do? Well, he builds. He builds, and builds. It's gonna be pretty hard figuring out what Steve's type is because he can do lots of things. He can mine and craft, but he is still just a normal person with he can fight, but he needs a sword to fight. So steel type because he kind of relies on iron and steel to fight with his swords and his pickaxe. 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 And yeah, he basically, it's normal steel because Steve is still a normal person, but he needs swords and weapons to fight. And but it depends. If Steve is wearing armor, he would be steel type because you can make armor in Minecraft. Steel is probably one of the most versatile characters in probably all of fiction. He can be multiple types. He can be steel type. He can, he can be fire type. He can run fire type moves. He can basically set things on fire. He's basically just a normal person that can craft. Another good type would essentially be fire type. No, not fire type. Fighting type because he can basically punch down trees with his bare fists. So probably fighting steel type. And there we go. That's all of these Smash Bros. DLC characters. I cannot believe it was that easy to do all the DLC characters except for Byleth. Because all the characters are very, very self-explanatory. And yep, there we go. That's basically it. Goodbye.